guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you part 2 of what I read in August. I have 5 books to tell you about, 3 of which I'm counting for my Goodreads challenge, and then 2 that I am not. The first book I want to talk about today is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I read Pride and Prejudice back in May, and I had a great time doing that, so I decided I would pick up some more Jane Austen. I read Persuasion way back in middle school, and I'd never picked it up again. And so I was like, it's really time for me to take another look at this. And this copy is my mom's copy from 1968. So yeah, going old school. So Persuasion is the tale of Anne and Captain Wentworth, and they were engaged to be married a while ago, and then Anne, on the advice of her family and friends, decides to break off the engagement because Captain Wentworth, back then when they were engaged, he wasn't a captain, he was just a shipmate or whatever, and he wasn't wealthy and he didn't have good connections, which, in Austen's time is what's really important. But anyway, so about 8 years later, Anne is 27, or maybe it's 10 years later. Anne is 27, and of course, back then, that's considered an old maid, and so she is lonely and sort of the maiden's sister, and she happens to run into Captain Wentworth again, and they eventually fall in love. And of course, because it's Austen, there's crazy family members and random trips to the sea, and then somebody gets seriously injured, and they think they're gonna die, and it's a crazy. I actually think that I like this book more than Pride and Prejudice, because one of my things that I don't really like about Pride and Prejudice is that Darcy and Elizabeth fall in love so quickly. They're not together that much, and then at the end they're falling in love with them, and so it's what in the world? But anyway, so this one I felt like it was more realistic because Anne and Captain Wentworth already knew each other pretty well, and it was just a matter of poor judgment on Anne's part. But even that, it talked about in the book how because she rejected him, Captain Wentworth went out and became the man that she would be able to accept. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I'm glad that I picked it up again, and I actually feel like I should be rereading all of Austen's work because they're all like this. I haven't read them in a long time, and I've never read Northanger Abbey, so I need to get on that. The next book I read on my vacation to New Mexico, and it is When Everything Changed, The Amazing Journey of American Women from the 1960s to the Present. And it's by Gail, who used to work for the New York Times, and I believe she was the editorial page editor. She was the first female editorial page editor. And so this book is all about how American culture shifted in such an extreme way between 1960s and present day, and how women rode in the ride and got way more rights and way more opportunities. It talks about how in the 1960s women either didn't go to college or they went to college to find a man, and it was they talked about how it was expected that on Christmas vacation you would get engaged, and then your senior year you would get engaged, and then you'd be married that next summer. And then it talked about how women, would try to get work and they'd be denied because, men are the breadwinners and they need the money more. But it's there are tons of single women out there. And it also talked about things the discrepancy between sexual standards, how men were supposed to be able to plow their oats and stuff, and women had to be virgins or else they're it was terrible, even though statistics show that women were sleeping with men before marriage, and and it also talks about abortion and things like that, and it discusses the ERA and all of that aftermath. It was a really fascinating book, and I highly recommend it. And my mom read it, and my mom was born in 1954, so she remembers a lot more of what happened in this book. And so she, had experiences where employers would ask her, "Hey, are you going to have kids?" Because, and she would have to answer, even though nowadays that's illegal to ask someone if they're having children before you hire them. So it's very interesting to both read this book and then talk about it with my mom and see how her experiences compares. And this book really does get you fired up about women's rights. After you read it, you're like, yeah, down with all men, even though it's not the point of the book at all. You're just like, yeah, women. You get so excited about it. I don't know, kind of crazy. The next book I read on vacation was Bertie's Guide to Life and Mothers, which is the 9th book in the 44 Scotland Street series. And if you haven't read this series, it is so cute. It's this group of people who all live in an apartment building at 44 Scotland Street, and it's about their lives and their relationships with each other and how their lives are connected. And it takes place in Edinburgh, Scotland, and you learn a lot about the area and the people and the culture. And it's just really cute. In this book, Bertie is turning 7, and his mother, Irene, is really into what is the word, political correctness, and she doesn't believe in gender roles. And so she buys Bertie this, I forgot what she calls it, but it's a doll, basically. And he has to take it to school and show off his present. And he's so embarrassed, and he's like, oh my goodness, everyone's gonna think I'm crazy. And so it's a really cute book, and I just really enjoyed this series. And there's already 2 more after this that I need to read, but my library only has one of them, so I will get that one and then wait till the 11th book comes to the library and read those 2. I'm just always going to read these because they're so fun and cute, and they just let you feel like you're living in Scotland, even though you're really not anywhere near it. But yeah, I just really, really enjoyed this book a lot. The next 2 books I want to talk about are the Lumberjanes series, volumes 1 and 2. This is a graphic novel series that is mostly written by Noelle Stevenson and a few other women, and it follows these 5 friends who are at summer camp, and they, it's just a regular. It's set up like a camp guide, so it tells you the marriage badge you can get, and then what you have to do to get it, and then it shows you a segment of the story that relates to that badge. But the thing is that weird creatures are showing up around the camp, and so these girls have to go on a mission to find the creatures and to get rid of them. And they solve puzzles, and they, have to go in a race with some creatures, and it's just a really interesting book. And volume 2 continues the story, and they meet there's these strange figures running around the camp, and they have to figure out who these people are and why they're so crazy. And before I read these 2 books, I had only read Persepolis, and that was the only graphic novel I'd read, but I enjoyed these. I'm not going to count these on my Goodreads challenge for now because they're so short and they're mostly pictures, and I personally, I just don't want to count it unless I really need to at the end of the year, if I don't meet my goal or whatever. I thought this was really cute, and it was entertaining while I read it, but I actually didn't really find it that memorable. And then also, another thing that bothered me was when they have the merit badge parts, they show you a page of the handbook. So here's an example. It shows the merit badge, and then it gives you a description of what the marriage patch is and how you get it. But it's like these written parts, a lot of them have like typos and editing errors and like really noticeable issues with the paragraphs. And you're like, is it supposed to be like that the girls wrote it? Like that these 5 girls wrote this manual? Or is it supposed to be like a professional thing? Because if it's supposed to be a professional thing, then it really needs to be edited better. So I found that kind of annoying personally. I was like, it kind of distracted from my enjoyment of the story. But I guess it won't really, the art is cute and the girls in it are cute, and it is a very strong representation of female friendship and of strong female characters, which I always enjoy. I would recommend it if you're looking for a graphic novel series to try out. I only read the first 2 because that's what my library had, but I know the 3rd volume has recently come out, and I'm sure I'll read that when my library gets it. So yeah, those are the books that I read in the latter part of April, and I am currently reading one that I will probably finish on the first or second day of September, but I'm just gonna put that in the next one because it's an ebook and it's not like it needs to go back to the library or anything. But yeah, I will talk to y'all later, and if y'all have read any of these books, let me know. I definitely like to chat. And yeah, hope everyone's having a great August and that you have a great Labor Day if you celebrate that. See you later.